in a very empathetic way, but I never once thought, oh, it's just his autism, because you're not autistic, you're Callum. Well, you are autistic, but Callum first, and then there's this small layer that is autism.
What advice would you give to someone who is either a brother or a sister about autism? Is there any tips that you would sort of pass on now that you're an adult? You know, sort of being with me as a kid and a teenager. What advice would you give?
I think really it's just patience and empathy. Just like sometimes you get in a bit of a tiz, and yeah, sometimes, especially some of the phases you had growing up, and through teenagehood and the awkwardness that is for everybody, you just need some extra patience and understanding that it isn't something you're doing on purpose to wind or to wind people up or to annoy people, or it's the last thing that you're trying to do is to annoy someone. It's simply the fact that you don't fully understand, or that something that comes extremely naturally to one person does not come to you. But that's also a caveat with, that's from learning that, you learn that that's most human beings. Well, that's every human being, that even the smartest of people require patience at times for them to figure things out. But it's the same growing up with you, was that really you taught me how to be patient and how to think when annoyed rationally. I guess you helped with that. I won't give you all that credit. You definitely helped. Is that generally when you're annoyed at something, you just need to take a second and say it back through your head, what you're actually annoyed at, and 99% of the time you realise that it's something to be completely useless. It's something completely silly to be annoyed at, and that if you just give the other person 10 seconds more, a minute more, then they sort themselves out, or they figure it out.
So for you, it was more about developing that patience, that empathy, that...
Yeah, I think that obviously kids can be cruel, but generally you're not super cruel to your brothers and sisters. I guess there'll be some exceptions to the rule out there, but most kids won't be too cruel to their brothers and sisters. But if your brother and sister has autism, being cruel to them is extra cruel somehow. And that, luckily, between our parents, I learned that quite early on, is that picking on you is, especially when you were younger, it would be something that is really nasty, because all you're trying to do is be nice and figure out the world, and I guess luckily, or through whatever process, I figured out that empathy and not being cruel would be the best course of action.
You're listening to That Autism Thing, a candid conversation about autism. Thank you to my brother Declan for taking part in this episode of That Autism Thing. If you've been affected by any of the issues in this episode or discussion, check out the National Autistic Society's website, where they've got some really great information, guides and support available to you if you think you have the condition, or if you've got friends or family who are on the spectrum too. It's a fantastic website and a fantastic organisation. We'll be back next week with another episode of That Autism Thing. I just want to also quickly apologise for the lack of updates and episodes over the past couple of weeks. Recently, because of the coronavirus, it's been really difficult to sit down with family and friends and be able to actually have a really good conversation with them about autism because of all the worry and the anxiety around the situation at the moment. So it's been a bit difficult to record episodes and pin people down for a couple of minutes, but we'll be back to normal next week, where I would like to do an edition of this podcast where I sit down with you and we have a conversation around autism and the coronavirus. How are you coping with the coronavirus? Is it affecting your routine? Is it affecting you? I want to hear from you. So if you want to take part, drop me an email. It's thatautismthing@icloud.com. You can also tweet me. It's CRC Audio on Twitter, or it's that A thing on Twitter if you want to go specifically straight to the podcast's Twitter account. And you can also find us on Facebook as well. It's facebook.com/Callum Ronan Creative. We would love to hear from you. How are you coping? And if you just want a conversation, a nice chat with somebody, I would love to have a conversation with you. So I hope you have a good week. Please stay safe. Please keep washing your hands and look after yourself, both mentally and physically as well. Hope to speak to you next week when we'll have another episode, and I'll keep you company. Bye for now.